Losing it, losing it, losing it, losing it, losing it, losing it, losing it. If you got a story, we don't care if it's happy or gory, so come share your losing it story with us. Hey guys, welcome to Losing It with me, Nelsie Spencer, and the ever popular Ronnie Whaley. Hey,
hello.
Ronnie.
Yes.
Sup,
dude.
Sup, dude.
What's going on?
Oh God, what's going on? So this is the podcast where guests come on and tell a story about losing something. And we were just having a little technical difficulties, and Ronnie walked me through it. Maybe you need to turn off your computer and turn it back on again.
Have you not done that in a while?
And that works. I never turn my computer off. Right? Do you? Do you do it on a regular basis? How often should one turn one's computer off?
When they go to bed.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, especially a laptop.
And why is that?
Because it'll burn. It'll burn out.
Oh.
It gets hot. Yeah, It'll melt everything inside.
I mean, I always sleep it. I put it on sleep.
Sleep, yeah, should be okay.
I sing it a little lullaby.
Should be okay if it's on sleep.
Okay. I don't let it just sit there open and on. I do sleep it. Okay, but I'll turn it off every night. I can do that. Why not? I'm savvy.
So we got this letter.
Tell me.
I thought that you'd be interested in. Unrelated to the fan letters we get at the end of the show. This is something unrelated to that.
Okay.
It says here, "Hi Nelsie, just a note to say I have a weird hobby of looking up contestants from old game shows. You know where I'm going with this. Most searches lead nowhere, but when one does, it is rewarding to see people meet their career goals. Password is my favorite game show on Buzzer. Do you catch your appearances? You were on today. The sad thing is I looked you up before because your current story came back to me. Maybe I need to get a life? Really, I have a great life. Take care and God bless. Lori Washam." So she's talking about your time on that game show.
Yeah. First of all, very sweet of Lori. And I kind of remember, I think Lori did reach out to me once before, and I was like, that is so sweet. I don't even know what Buzzer is, but that's obviously a platform where you can watch game shows, right?
I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was on a game show. I was on Password Plus, which is one of the original 1970s game shows, hosted by Alan Ludden, who is what used to be married to Betty White before he died. And I was on in 1979, and I was the second biggest winner in Password Plus history. I won $28,300. Boom.
Wait, how much?
$28,300.
Holy crap. That's a lot of money.
I know. And it might have been 23. I was 22.
That's a lot of money when you're 22.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money
Yeah.
at 22. It's a lot of money in 1979. And I did not do anything smart with it.
Really?
Just so you know. I mean, it's hard to remember. That was a long time ago, but I lived off of it because it was right before I moved to New York to go to the neighborhood playhouse. So I lived off of it. But my boyfriend at the time had an accountant, and he said, you should buy this equipment, and then the people who want to use the equipment will lease it from you. I don't know. It was some really weird investment, and it would help. I did. It would help so I wouldn't be. I don't even know. It was but it was a stupid move.
Really? Was it?
I mean, looking back at that time, I probably could have bought an apartment in New York. Or I could have put a down payment on an apartment in New York.
Really? For that much money?
Yeah. It was 1979.
Oh, I guess
you could probably buy. So let's say we're just our listeners are falling asleep. Figure I could have bought a $280,000 apartment, which is, but this is in 1979. I bet it could have happened. But I didn't think like that. I was just like, how many months can I not work? That's what I was thinking. That's how my brain is working.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I totally get that.
But so the funny thing is lately now I realize I can look up my games on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
So I've looked up my games on YouTube, and because I I started posting them on TikTok, little bits of them, and then
that's right.
people love it. People love it.
Yes.
Yes. And so I'm blowing up on TikTok, guys. Just blowing up.
I told you should be posting more. You should be posting more on TikTok.
I know. Ronnie said I should be posting more on TikTok, so I started posting that, and I'm posting Thrift Store Thursday, but I don't just do it on Thursday, and writing tips and all of that. And I have to say, I love TikTok.
Really? Have you been watching stuff on TikTok?
That's the problem. You get sucked in.
Have you been?
I have. I'm embarrassed to say I have.
It's crazy. It's so weird.
It's crazy.
It
right?
is.
There's this one woman who I think she's like Useless Farm, and she's got like emus and donkeys, and she calls it Useless Farm because none of the animals are of any use on the farm. They're just like rescues.
Yeah.
And you know what an emu is? It's like an ostrich. It's this huge bird. One of her emus is called Karen because she's really shitty and always like kind of attacking her.
Yeah.
And she's got like, I don't know, 1 million followers or something. Because it's just her and her crazy animals.
TikTok is so weird. It's like people on TikTok can make careers out of being weird or just having a slightly different life. And that's what they're showcasing on TikTok.
Yeah. There's one guy who has a rhesus monkey who has like, I think it's called a rhesus monkey. It sounds like a peanut butter cup, but I think they're called rhesus monkeys. And he has 2 million followers, and every video is, George, you got a present. And because all his followers send gifts to the monkey. So every video is the monkey opening a box and then chewing on a dried mango. 2 million followers.
I would watch that.
I did watch it. I did watch it.
Yeah, I was watching this guy.
Yeah.
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just waiting for it to get a little more interesting. You can only watch, you can only have, hey, George, you got a present. Hey, George, you got a present. You can only see that, I don't know, 5 or 6 dozen times.
But that's the interesting thing about that is that you wonder what the present is, and then you end up watching the whole video. That's how they suck you in.
It's never cocaine. It's never, it's always like
something fun.
It's a dried mangoes he likes, and he loves magazines. To watch this little monkey, like the monkey will flip through a magazine, like looking at the pictures, flip through it like a human.
Oh, he's looking at Time or something.
Crazy.
Or the New Yorker?
It's yeah, he's reading the New York. He loves the cartoons, the New Yorker. No, usually I shouldn't say magazine. I should say like catalog. Something with a lot of pictures.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so he likes pictures. Yeah. Okay, so what were you going to say? What's your TikTok?
Well, I watch a lot of really weird stuff, but I also watch this guy that bought like these tiny jellyfish, and he's recording his like journey of how to maintain these jellyfish, and it's just like super cool because like the way that his aquarium is set up, it's just jellyfish, right? They're small jellyfish, and then there's like that purple UV light. So they like pop out the jellyfish, and then he's learning as he has how to feed them, how to take care of them. And then you start to learn all this stuff as if you're about to get your own jellyfish. And I want to get jellyfish. I just don't know where to get jellyfish. But yeah, it's so
His
cool.
job is done.
To feed the jellyfish, you have to put in like this water that has the food in it. So you just put it in, and then because their tentacles just pick it up. Which is interesting. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why.
Jellyfish, I think, is it's one of the most plentiful species on the planet. There's like hundreds.
They're not endangered.
Yes. Not at all. As a matter of fact, they're like a problem. They're a problem in some areas. There's so many of them. Yeah, because when they have babies, they have like 1 trillion of them, and they they do really well in the wild. How do I know that? I don't know.
There's this place, I forget where, it's in Micronesia, my dad been to, and there's a lake full of stingless jellyfish that you can swim in. And and my dad has a bunch of pictures of when he was like younger, like in the lake with like it's just crazy amount of jellyfish, and you can like touch them and it's fine.
Wow.
You know, it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot.
So there you go. Yeah. TikTok, jellyfish, emus, game shows, monkeys. I'm trying to think of what else I got sucked into. I don't know, but this one woman who plays all these different characters, she's fantastic. She's great. I mean, she should be on Saturday Night Live now. I don't know. I don't pay attention. I just know she's in my feed now, and she's talented, and she's probably like, living, way out in the middle of nowhere, but she's got this TikTok, and she deserves all the followers. I mean, some people, like, no offense to Mr. Monkey, but he's not doing much. He's got the monkey, God bless him, but then he's just handing the monkey shit. You know what I mean?
The thing about the monkey TikTok is that you don't need to know English.
Yeah. Good point. Okay,
so
her name is
a lot of what's that?
This one's name is Chris with a K HC. She has 27.8 million followers. And she does characters and sketches. She's like her own TV show. She's great. I want her on the podcast. So get on that, Ronnie.
Okay. See what I can do.
All right. So anything new with you? Anything you want to share?
This right here.
Oh, right. You got a new background.
This new background.
Switched everything around.
Yeah. Like I was telling you. So if through this wall is where I used to put the desk, and now I've come into the hallway, and the desk is now here in front of the window where the light is.
That's nice.
And and it really just helps, just have great, it's great to have natural lighting at any point,
Oh, it's the best. It's the best.
Yeah, right?
Oh, it makes all the difference. Because my desk used to be over there, as you know, and it's dark. And now I'm right next to the window, and I'm so much happier.
Yeah, the other problem is it's like this like this thing where it gets washed out. I have to like diffuse the light or whatever.
Yeah, but, I had to go to Marshall's and get curtains for this one. All right, so that's fascinating. That's not curtains. But I do want to point out to the listeners that Ronnie's new background shows that he's smart because on the one side there's books, and also shows that he's athletic because on the other side there's a skateboard. So it's good. It's good. It shows that he's smart and athletic.
This will be on my Tinder profile. A lot of information in one photo.
and with the mic and the headphones. I'm also a podcaster. So
vinyl records. I have taste.
How could you resist me? My God.
Yeah, exactly.
Check this out. Yeah. So, all right. Speaking of how could you resist me, we have a really good guest this week. Interesting. I know I say this every week, but you found us like Ronnie gets these people. It's like this guy is a stuntman who's done a lot of shit. I don't have to tell it you because you're going to hear later. But his name's Steve Brown, and he was a really interesting interview. Turns out he used to be a wrestler, and turns out wrestlers are very philosophical, right?
You wouldn't have expected that.
No, because it's like wrestlers say this, and wrestlers anyway. You'll experience him.
Real wrestling, by the way.
Yes, thank you. Right.
Not WWE.
No, right. His name isn't like Crazy Steve Brown or no, he's a real wrestler. He's the real deal and a real stuntman. So check it out. Ronnie has found me once again a fascinating guest, somebody that I would never have ferreted out, but he's amazing and he's a stunt man. I don't know, are we allowed to say stunt man or do we have to say stunt person? Just kidding. Because he's definitely, I can tell, I'm looking at him. He's definitely a man. So he's a stuntman. He's been doing it for quite a while, but he looks like he's about 17. So we'll have to hear all about that. But he's been in huge movies that you guys have all heard about, but we're going to talk about that once I introduce him. So, hey, Steve Brown. Hi.
Hi, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming. Where you're out in LA, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, where in LA are you?
So I'm actually in the Hollywood area.
So, I grew up in Southern California, so I know LA kind of. I know in the Hollywood area, like West Hollywood or Hollywood proper.
Yeah, Hollywood proper. So right by the Hollywood Reservoir. So
okay,
just
all right.
place right out by there.
And are you an Angelino? Did you grow up out there?
I'm actually a transplant like most people. I grew up in upstate New York. And,
no kidding. Where in upstate New York?
In this a very small town called Herman, New York.
Herman.
It's actually considered a village.
Where is it in relation, like, to Syracuse?
2 hours north.
Oh, lordy lord. Like way.
Oh, yeah. And we get lake effect snow.
Oh my God.
You'll go to bed and you wake up and there's literally 5 feet of snow. And you think school is going to be canceled, except you only have a 1 hour delay. You're like, how is this even possible?
My husband went to Syracuse. To Syracuse.
So he's an Orangeman.
My daughter went to the graduate school at Syracuse. She was really lucky. It was a really mild winter. But my husband still talks about the one time that there was 73 inches of snow or something insane. I might be exaggerating, but
no, it's not. That's right? 5 feet. That's real.
Right? Like you walk along the sidewalk and the they've carved out a little sidewalk, but the snow is up to your shoulders, right?
Yes. As kids, it's amazing because you can build the most incredible snow forts.
I love that. See, I grew up in Southern California where there was no snow. And so even though I've lived here forever, every time it snows now, I'm like, oh, snow! I love it. So how long have you been in LA?
I've been here now for about 8-9 years.
Yeah, wow. And do you like it?
I do. It's I do miss having 4 seasons. So there's the pros and cons, right? So it is beautiful that we get nice weather year round, but being in LA, especially the film industry, sometimes the hustle kind of just expedites time, right? So everything kind of feels like you're in a fast-paced life, and it doesn't help that the seasons don't change. All of a sudden it's January, then it's July, then it's January again. So
yeah.
Sometimes the 4 seasons
degrees.
Help from
it's 72 degrees, and then it's 72 degrees, and maybe it's 78, and then it's so true. It's growing up, I didn't grow up with seasons, so it was always kind of funny that in September people decided to put on a tweed jacket, like to pretend that the seasons had changed.
Right.
So did you go to LA going, you know what, I want to be a stuntman? Or did you go to LA going, you know what, I want to be in movies?
It's actually funny. I had zero intentions of actually working in film. Because I grew up wrestling. Wrestling was the sport that I did since I was 4 years old.
Wow.
And at the end of high school, I earned a scholarship. I went to Central Michigan.
Wait a minute. You got to back up. 4-year-old wrestling? Are you just wrestling with your siblings, or are there actual wrestling, tournaments for
actual
4-year-olds?
Wrestling tournaments, and if you want to see something, you want to see some of the cutest and most the darndest thing in the entire world, look up 4-year-olds wrestling. It's so they're so rules, but as a 4-year-old, we don't know how to really listen. You kind of, and if you watch them online, you can find some incredibly cute videos online where they'll shake hands and then the kid's looking at their dad, and then the dad's yelling like, "Take him down, do this," and the kid's like. And all of a sudden they start playing tag on the wrestling mat. You're like, what are you doing?
Okay. So let me ask you a question. Given that you brought up the dad thing, how many, did you go up to dad when you were 4 and go, "Dad, I want to wrestle"? Or,
Hell
no.
How
did it happen?
I can tell you exactly how it happened. I just remember sleeping on a Saturday morning because, I don't know, that's what 4-year-olds do. Yeah. And he woke me up before the sun came up. It's winter time because it's a winter sport, so I'm cold. And he's like, "All right, it's time to go. We're going to a wrestling tournament." I'm like, "What's that?" I just remember waking up, getting my clothes on, being cold, getting in the car, falling asleep, and then you wake up an hour later. I'm at some random school, and then you're in a locker room in your tighty whities with a whole bunch of other kids, one by one, stepping on a scale. So on one arm, they write your age. On the other arm, they write your weight. After you make weight, and so then after you make weight,
after you make weight, and making weight when you're 4 is what?
Well, at that age, they just weigh you, right? And so then you don't have to cut weight.
They're not like, this 4-year-old's got to lose some weight.
That would be a little crazy, right?
Yeah.
Well, at that age, they just kind of see what you weigh. And then in the next 2 hours, the people running the tournament match up everyone who weighs the same or within a couple pounds. And then that's the bracket of who I'm competing against at my age group.
Now, okay, I'm sorry. This is how my brain works. In my mind, this is a movie. And it begins with Dad coming in and waking you up. And then the next thing you know, we don't know anything. The next thing you know, you're in a locker room and they're writing numbers on and we're like, is it a cult? What's going on? So then, did Dad do this because he knew you'd be good at it? Were you a high energy kid, or were you always wrestling with your siblings?
I think at 4 years old, it's probably a little hard to tell whether anyone's going to be good at anything. It's,
I agree. But Dad had an idea. Right? Yeah.
Well, my dad was a wrestler growing up. So it was something that him and his brothers and family were heavily into. So I'm sure that when I was conceived, he was like, boy or girl, this kid's going to be a wrestler. So at 4, I didn't have much of a choice. It was just something like, all right, this is what we're doing. And this is actually kind of a funny story. So my very first tournament I've ever went to, I cut my eye open. I had to leave and get stitches. And so that process of when I said, you're in a locker room and you make weight. I'm in my tighty whities, my arms are written on. And then in the 2-hour window before the tournament starts, they're making brackets. Well, this is where I am quite rambunctious, because for 2 hours feels like 20 hours to me. So I'm running up and down the bleachers because I'm like, I'm bored. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And I fell. And I fell in the bleachers, and that's how I cut my head open. So in my very first tournament I ever competed in, I didn't even wrestle. But I got a trophy. So I was like, this is awesome.
So you got a trophy. It was one of those, like, because you came to the tournament?
They give you a trophy for usually the top, say, 3 wrestlers that place. So if there's 6 kids in a bracket, only the top 3 are going to get a trophy. Right. Well, as a 4-year-old, apparently there was only 3 kids in my bracket, so I automatically got a trophy.
I love it. Didn't wrestle. Opened up your skull and still got a trophy. That's fantastic. Oh my God. Yeah. So when you finally did do it, did you love it, or do you remember?
I'm glad you asked. So the next weekend I went to my second tournament ever. And I think I wrestled 3 times and I lost all 3 times. And the entire season, I actually didn't win 1 match. I think it was like 0-16 or something as a 4-year-old. And I remember crying my ass off every single time I lost.
Oh.
So as far as enjoying it, like, I can't quite remember enjoying it. At the same time, I don't remember whether I liked it or not. I think that I just was going through the motions.
Yeah. You were like, well, this is what we're doing, right? Dad's like, get up. And you're like, okay, right? So when did you end up liking it? Or did you end up liking it?
Well, if you think of a roller coaster, right? It has its ups and downs.
Yeah.
And then at the end, then you kind of have an opinion whether the roller coaster ride was fun or not, right? You're like, either it was exhilarating. So it's kind of like one of those things. So I guess in my story about my wrestling career, that first year I was 0-16. That's like as far as downhill you can go. And my dad was probably thinking, my son sucks. This is just not for him.
Well, I guess that's the question. Do you remember how Dad, took the losses? Did he internalize it? As a 4-year-old,
I have no idea.
No, okay.
As an adult reflecting on it, I'm thinking, boy, he must have thought I was going to be terrible.
Yeah,
but he still loved me. He was still there for me, so I guess he still appreciated me.
Yeah. So when you look back at the roller coaster ride, like the career, your wrestling career, was it a good ride?
In the end, it was, you know.
Yeah.
And I think this is where some of the trials and tribulations kind of come into play. You know, the second year I wrestled, I don't remember a whole lot, but I just remember for some reason I won everything. And then I only lost, I think, once that year.
Wow.
So then I was like, oh, things make sense. And then my third year, you know, probably 5, 6, 7 years old, I started to win some, lose some. And I think that kind of shows that kids hit puberty slightly differently and, you know, and as you're growing. So through youth wrestling, I started getting successful and I started learning how to be attuned to my body. Yeah. In high school, that's where it got difficult because I had a hard time handling my competition anxiety. I had a hard time handling the stress and, you know, and it got to the point where...
And it's very intense. Wrestling is very intense, right? I mean, you have to make your weight. I mean, it's just you and that other guy. And I'm assuming you've seen the movie Win-Win with Paul Giamatti, right? I mean, that's my little...
Great movie.
It's such a good movie. Such a good movie. But that's my little peek into wrestling. So, but I just remember thinking... It's so intense. It's so pressure filled. You know, my son was a gymnast and gymnastics is similar in that you've practiced. I mean, he practiced started when he was 6 or 7. You know, you practice hours every day and then you have this little window where you either make it or you don't, you know, and it's not like soccer because he went on to play soccer where you got 2 45-minute halves and you can be down 3 and you can still come back. But in wrestling, it's like, it's so win or lose like that, right?
Yes. And on top of that, gymnastics, wrestling, and even MMA in general is an individualized sport, which means you don't have teammates. You can't pass the blame on to anyone else. You can't tag anyone in. You can't sub anyone out. No, it's you. And if you make a mistake, it's on you. So all your success and failure is 100% on you. Which puts heavy weight on your shoulders.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So in high school, when all this anxiety is, you know, hitting you, how did you handle it? Or did you know?
Terrible. I was absolutely terrible. You know, even I reflect on in 9th grade, I choked and I lost. I think I was ranked top 5 in the state of New York. And I didn't even make it to the state tournament. I choked in the conference, which I had no business losing. And when I reflect on it, you know, even my kids in my class in school thought I was a dick because like you let down the school. No, it wasn't so much about the letting them down as much as, you know, one of my friends, I remember him saying, oh, you know, you got the sectionals coming up. How do you think you're going to do? Are you going to win? I'm like, of course I'm going to win. You know, and I was just trying to like be confident, but I was trying to, but I didn't understand anxiety. I didn't understand how to deal with it and reflecting on it now. I'm like,
who knows how to do that when you're in 9th grade? Right? Who knows even to necessarily, I mean, I think today maybe, but who knows even when you're in 9th grade that you can identify it. I mean, you have all this stuff going on in your body, you know, maybe you've got a racing heart and your palms are sweating and, you know, racing thoughts. But you're not like,
sleep,
you're not like, oh, gee, it must be anxiety. Well, perhaps I'll do some deep breathing, whatever. You don't know. You're a kid. Oh my gosh. Wow.
And you think that, well, my opponents, because, you know, it's always thinking about my opponents. What if I make a mistake? What if I lose? What if I let people down? What if I don't do this? And you're thinking, the other guy, he's probably not going through this. Why am I worried about that? He's not worried about it. And because I'm worried about it, that must make me less than him. But I'm not supposed to be.
Right. So all those, you know, it's amazing what we do to ourselves, what our brain does to ourselves. And, you know, part of it's cultural, I think. You know, part of it is that we live in this culture where there's so much comparison and it's changing, I think. It's changing now that people talk about their struggles and they talk about anxiety and they talk about fears. It's happening more and more. But, you know, it's like you say, oh, the other guy's probably not worrying. And that other guy, you know, is freaking out. He's at home freaking out, thinking you're not worrying. Right?
Right.
There's an expression, don't judge your insides by other people's outsides, you know? It's like those people, like your friends in high school thought you were cocky and you were just freaking out.
I was freaking out. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And sometimes I wish I can go back and explain to them like, hey man, you know, and so when I lost, I think part of them felt like, you deserve it because you are cocky. And in my mind, I'm like, it wasn't that, but I don't even know how to even use the words to even explain it. So that's something that, even as an adult now, I'm like reflecting. I'm like, man, I wish I could go back to ninth grade to, one, tell myself to calm down and it's okay. And then two, to be able to let my friends know, like, hey, man, I'm having a hard time at dealing and understanding the pressure inside,
Yeah.
And they probably would have been more supportive for me.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. I hope you don't mind me asking you. How old are you?
34.
34. And you hear all the time.
You think I look younger, but I'm half Asian, so I guess it's that Asian blood.
Yeah. It's funny because I looked at, first of all, you've got a bunch of pictures on IMDb, and I looked at your main profile picture, and I was like, it looks like a little bit in that picture like one of the Jonas Brothers, which you don't at all in any of the other ones. I don't know which one. They're all the same to me. I mean, I know they're not, but Nick, you look a little bit like Nick Jonas in one of your pictures. And then in another one, he's very handsome, and you, as are you. And then on another one, you look Asian. And so I said to my producer, I said to Ronnie, I think he might be Asian. Do you think I'm allowed to ask him? He said, no, I don't know. And Ronnie's Filipino, so it's like I don't even know what the rules are around that anymore. But so you're 34. So this is why I asked. This is why I was asking how old you are, because you seem to be pretty self-reflective. And here you are, an adult person, been in LA for 9 years, doing stunt work like at a very high level, very high pressure, something that you're used to. You're used to pressure since age 4, apparently. Yeah. Are you at a place now where you say to friends, I'm having a hard time?
Yeah, I think I'm comfortable in my own skin, and I think that's part of development, right? I think that once you get past your ego and pride, you got to be able to acknowledge when things are hard, and when you have the right circle of friends or the right people that you trust, you can't always win everything, and so there's gonna be a time when you fall down, and that's why it's so important to help those around you who fall down, because, and this is what I learned in college wrestling, this is one of the greatest experiences for me, is we got our asses beat from day one to the last day of college, my class. And
where'd you go to college?
Central Michigan. So it's a Division I school.
Yeah, D1.
Yeah. So for, out there, that was my first big lesson about that is, there's going to be a day when you're having a bad day, and you're going to need your teammates to help pick your ass back up. Mm-hmm. And when your partner has a bad day, he's going to need you to help pick his ass back up too.
Yeah.
And together, you'll always keep finding a way, get back on your feet and keep moving forward. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's such a good lesson to learn about how much strength there is in that vulnerability of saying, I'm having a hard time. Because not only that gives the person that you're saying that to permission to tell you that too. They're like, wow, Steve's telling me he's having a hard time. That means I don't have to act like everything's okay when it's not, And I think it's so much, culturally, it's so much harder for guys than it is for women to say, I'm having a hard time. So I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed and very happy that that you took that, that college experience. And my son played D1 soccer, and it wasn't a great experience for him for a variety of reasons. But I think when you get into your D1 school and, oh my God, I'm playing D1 in my sport, you feel like all your dreams are coming true. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a very small percentage of people who have that dream college experience. Forget that dream D1 experience, right? And so you were there 4 years and didn't win. Mm-hmm. And what was the big takeaway?
In college itself?
Yeah, well, in that experience, in being in the D1 school and not being the winners. What'd you learn from that?
That's one of the hard things too, and I even see it, because wrestling is that individual sport, but there's that individual effort towards the team, right? Yeah. So when I came in as a freshman in college, and when I left high school, I was in the top of the totem pole. I was one of the top wrestlers in the entire country. Wow. And then when I got to college, right? And at that point, you're like, oh, I am top dog. I'm big shit right here. So when I get to college, I'm like, yeah, I'm a college athlete, and you think it's gonna be great. First 2 weeks of college practice, I got my ass beat every single day. In fact, it wasn't just the first 2 weeks. It was the entire season. And then it was so hard to figure out how the guy that was the starter in my weight class was a 6-year senior because he had a redshirt year and he had an Olympic redshirt year. So he was a 6-year senior.
Jesus.
24 years old, 2-time All-American. He was one of the most dominant guys in the country. And he beat the shit out of me every day.
Of course he did. Of course he did. He's 6 years older than you, right? I mean, come on.
And you know, it's funny because one of the most embarrassing moments for me in my entire life was with that guy. You know, because one of the things about being a great athlete is if you take the easy day in practice or you just don't push yourself, you'll kind of just coast. You're not really getting the gains that you need to gain to be the best. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to buy into the team mentality of we're trying to be national champions. All right. I need to go with tough guys. So I'm like, hey, Mark, can we be partners today? And he's like, sure. And in the first 10 minutes of practice, we're just drilling. The coach sets the clock for 10 minutes. And this is where you kind of warm up. You're flowing, going through your takedowns, your techniques. And in that first 10 minutes, he was going so hard and putting so much pressure on me that I had a hard time keeping up with him. That by the end of the 10 minutes, it was like 8 minutes. I could barely stand up. He shoved me back down to the mat, walked away, and just goes, Coach, I need a new partner. I was supposed to be top dog. There was nothing top dog about my performance in the first 10 minutes of practice.
Wow. So did you, like, but God, look, I'm a girl, right? To me, I'm just like, and I'm a mom. So there's like, well, that's just mean, but it's not in the context of what you guys are doing, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you signed up for it, right?
That's right.
But, oh my gosh. So what happened? Did you come back? You know, by the end of those 4, did you play 4 or did you take I did redshirt.
You did redshirt. So I did take 5 years to do a 4-year degree. I redshirted that freshman year.
Makes sense.
You know, that
makes
freshman
sense that
year
you would redshirt that. Yeah,
it's a year to acclimate, get dialed in, and then there's some athletes that
still grow. Right.
That's why when I see some wrestlers that come in and they start as a freshman and they become All-Americans or national champions right away, I'm like, those kids are quite amazing. Unfortunately, I needed that extra year, you know, and most people do.
Yeah.
But it was a very difficult year. I thought I was like, I don't know what I was doing. Every day you're going to practice knowing you're getting your ass beat. And I'm like, it's a hard pill to swallow.
Right. And then you don't even ever get to compete. You can't even step on that mat once.
Right.
You can't not tournament. Yeah.
Right. But we still go to open tournaments and things like that. So we still competed. And that's where the coach kind of like gauges your skills and are you worth keeping on scholarship for the following year? So every year and every day you're fighting for your scholarship. It's not like you got an automatic golden ticket for the entire career. No, you got to re-earn it. And wrestling is a sport where it's a percentage-based scholarship, which means it's not full scholarship or no scholarship. You know, you could have a full scholarship and the next year's like, you didn't do this quite as well as I wanted. We're going to take 10% of your money away.
Oh,
we're going to take 20% of your money away. And now you're fighting to maintain and get it back. And so you have this other pressure of
my palms are, you just telling me this, Steve, my palms are sweating. I swear to God. And like, oh my God, I was just going to discotheques and, you know, dating people when I was like 18 and 19. I went to college, but I was a theater major, you know, and a dance major. I mean, look, dance, very big discipline, but I mean, nothing compared to what you're talking about. Oh my God. Well, this is so fast. I had so many questions I wanted to ask you just about the whole idea of being a stuntman and how you got there. But we went down the wrestling lane, which is fascinating. But I'm aware that I probably could talk to you for another 2 hours because, you know, as you see, my son's an athlete and my husband played Division I soccer for Syracuse, actually. And so I'm fascinated by all of that. And also especially wrestling, you know, and the kid who started at age 4. But I know you have a losing it story for me. So I'm going to let us go right to the losing it story. And then hopefully we'll have a little time afterwards to ask a few more questions. So you got a story for me. Am I right?
Yeah. You know, it's funny that it's ironically that's involved with wrestling as well. So we'll jump towards the tail end of my career. This is actually my junior to senior year of college, right? It's a compounded answer. So I told you how the beginning of my college career, got my ass beat. It was hard to kind of find my way. And then things started clicking as a sophomore. I was the backup. Starter got hurt. I became the man. So then I went all in. I was like, I had nothing to lose. Our team was going to win the conference regardless, but I wanted to be a part of the victory. So I went all out training for the second half of the season. I went from being a backup to winning the conference and going to nationals. And then that's when it made me realize I need to be back here again. So my junior year, I went all out. I trained my ass off, and I made it back. I won the conference for the second time. But then I got hurt the first round of the national tournament, but I kept competing, and I lost in what we call the blood round. The blood round is the most important.
How'd you get hurt? What was the injury?
I subluxed my shoulder, so I was trying to take this guy down, and as he ripped my shoulder forward, my shoulder popped out and back in.
Oh.
But I was still able to keep competing. It's just after that match, when swelling started setting in, it's a 3-day tournament. I had very little strength in my left arm. I had very little mobility. But there's an expression that we have in wrestling where the moons and stars will never be aligned for you. So you just got to find your way. And everyone's going to be hurt. Everyone's going to be sore. Find a way. Don't make an excuse for why you lost. Everyone's going to have a setback. Find a way. So in the end, I don't blame the injury. I don't blame the opponent. I don't blame anyone else but myself. I had some things that were working against me, but it's my job to find a way.
Wow.
So
it's a very unforgiving sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very mental.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I lost in the blood round, right? So the blood round is when you're top 12 in the United States. But no one gives a crap if you're top 12. That round, if you win, you become top 8 and you're an All-American. You now have prestige. You now have honors. And I lost that round. And we call it the blood round because you're out for blood. And so I was so close to getting that status and to my goals, but I fell short. When that ended, I felt like everything fell apart. When school was out of session as a junior, I didn't go home. I stayed and trained. I trained with the entire football team for the preseason, which is the summertime. And then in the fall, trained, kept going. Senior year, I beat the returning national champion, Jordan Burroughs. And in my mind, training's paying off. Everything's going well. I am going to win the national tournament. And then this is the part of losing it. Then we have this tournament over Christmas. It's about the halfway mark of our season. And I just happened to break 2 ribs in a match. It just happened. We're in a weird position and they broke.
Oh, God.
So everything I had sacrificed to this point, I didn't go home for over a year. I stayed and trained. I was diligent in every facet of the sport at this point. I am now putting every egg I possibly could have into this basket.
In this basket.
From dieting, I started dieting the year before. My strength, all my.
I was just going to ask you what is when it comes to, I'm sure different wrestlers have different routines, but what kind of diet restrictions, like how intense is that in terms of what you eat and what you don't eat or what you can eat and can't eat? Just give me an example for all us lay people out here who are eating chips while we're listening. So
there's a lot that really goes into it for various things. I guess a couple small things I can say is, when I was a junior, I went down a weight class. I was cutting 25 to 27 pounds a week. It's not healthy. It's what we call yo-yo dieting. It was my fault I didn't have my weight under control. I would slam dunk my weight down, and I couldn't stop myself from eating sweets and chocolates when the tournament was over, and I would skyrocket back up, and I would have to keep working out to bring it back down to keep competing.
My God.
But I was dedicated. I was on a mission. But as a senior, I didn't want to do that again. Yeah. So what I did was in the preseason. Thank God. Right. Because that's like an eating disorder in the making. Thank God you were like, hey, this is messed up, and you changed. Right? It's wrestling. It's what we all happen to do. I'm not saying it's what we want to do, but to be competitive, you need to be at the best weight class possible. Okay. And that's why my senior year, my goals and plans were to get as big and strong as possible, which all my numbers strength-wise from squatting, bench press, etc., were close to double from the year before. So what's the most you've ever bench pressed? I was able to do sets of 4 at 245. Oh my Lord. And it's supposed to be a huge thing if you can bench press your weight. And I'm pretty sure you're not 244. No, so I competed at 157.
Okay. So you compete at 157 and you're bench pressing 244. Man. Okay. See, I know some shit. I know some questions to ask. So, okay. So your squats are good. Your bench press is amazing. You're killing it. Senior year. Keep going.
Yeah. So then in the fall, I started dieting a month and a half before season even began. So I was weighing about 185 to 190. I was huge for my size. It's the biggest I've ever been in my life. And I started cutting down at that point, and so I made myself live between 163 and 165, because the way I had finally figured out is when I make weight, I have about 1 hour or 2 hours to compete, which means there's that small window to rehydrate and recover. I will probably only gain about 6 or so pounds back in that time. So for me to live at 163 to 165 is my competition weight. So when I'm training in practice, that's where I need to be, because that's the weight I will be when I compete. And so when I did start living at 163 to 165, I did lose a lot of muscle. I lost a lot of strength. But what I felt was I was as strong as I could possibly be pound for pound at the weight class I needed to compete at.
Yeah.
And that was part of my process, of how I had planned for that senior year.
Yeah.
So going back to the story aspect and the downfall, when I broke those ribs, it was the most heartbreaking thing of my entire career. This is my senior year of college wrestling. This is the pinnacle. My goal after this is to go train for the Olympics. So part of how I was training so hard and diligently was I wasn't trying to just win the national title. We have an expression in wrestling where if you shoot for the moon, meaning if I'm just trying to be an All-American, you're probably going to fall short. So if I'm shooting for the moon, I might fall short. I'm going to land back at Earth.
Yeah.
It sucks. But if I shoot for the sun, I'm going to rocket past the moon. I'm going to rocket past probably another planet or two. And even if I don't make it to the sun, I'll fall back to the moon. And that view will still be pretty damn great.
Wow.
And so if I'm only trying to be an All-American or a conference champion or even just a national champion, I might be an All-American.
Yeah.
I need to train to be an Olympic gold medalist.
Right.
And that was my goal, was to win the national title, then segue into try to winning a world title, and then training for the Olympics. And so that's what the process was for me.
Yeah.
So when I got hurt, everyone's now starting to try to peak out for nationals. I'm sitting, because with ribs, you can't cross train. You can't do cardio. You can't swim.
No.
Anytime your ribs fluctuate, it hurts terribly.
Yeah.
So
it's supposed to be really painful, right? Breaking a rib is really painful. Yeah.
You can't breathe ever.
Oh, God. No breathing. That's tough. Shit.
So for the next 6 weeks, I'm out. I'm at practice every single day just watching. And I can't take a medical red shirt because I just passed the threshold of when I could actually qualify for it. And it's my senior year, so in my mind, it's like I have no choice. When I get back, whether I'm healed or not, I'm coming back for the conference tournament. And there's a thing called a wild card system in wrestling, where let's say that in our conference, we have 4 guys ranked in the top 10 in the country. It'd be very sad if only one of them could go to the national tournament because only the winner goes. So they have this system where if you're ranked top 33, you have an 800 win percentage, and you've competed at least 15 times, then you get an automatic ticket to the national tournament regardless of what you place in the conference tournament.
Wow. That's kind of cool and smart too. In terms of
when I got hurt, though,
yeah,
I only had like 13 competitions, so which meant I didn't qualify for the automatic ticket. I have to win the conference. And even in that match, coming back, I was not ready to come back, and it was very, very difficult. I couldn't compete the way that I did as an athlete. I had to be smart. I had to strategize my matches because I didn't have the gas tank.
Yeah.
And
So it was more about smart rather than might. It was more about knowing how to take somebody down and using not about your the strength that you would use
and the endurance. Part of the strategy that we would wrestle. The way I would compete with most people is I would wear you out. I'd weather the storm. Then I would start to try to pick you apart. Because once someone gets tired, technique goes out the window. They start getting sloppy. And that's where I start to really just, in a sense, smell blood. And that's where my attacks, that's when I start getting more aggressive. Yeah. I am not that person after sitting 6 weeks off competing or after breaking those ribs,
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of boring to watch. I'm kind of chilling. I'm kind of hanging on. And then when the last 30 seconds of the period, Now I crank it up. I'm trying to steal the period away, score points, and stay ahead. And sometimes it would work. Sometimes I didn't get it. So now it's like got to figure it out. So in the finals of the finals in the conference, I was losing at the first period, which was against my entire game plan. Like I had to like keep it even. Yeah. And the guy was so strong. I was caught off guard at how strong he was. And I remember there was the last 30, 40 seconds of the match. I'm losing by 2 points. I gotta score. And I remember I was on his legs trying to take him down. And if you don't finish the takedown and there's no action happening, the ref will stop it and say stalemate and put you both back on your feet. And that happened 3-4 times in a row. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to get back into his legs. I don't have the gas tank to do it. And I got in his legs this one last time. And I'm trying to rock. And I'm trying to keep moving so the ref doesn't call it. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, he's going to call it. He's going to call stalemate. Come on. We got to go. We got to go. And all of a sudden the kid broke. He broke. He was trying to bail out now. And I was holding him on his back. I scored like 4 points in the move, and I just held him there. I was like, I can't believe this fool broke. What an idiot. And then, so the match was over, and then I rose my hand. I won the conference for the third time. And in my mind, I was thinking, holy shit, I got 2 weeks for the national tournament. I got some work to do because this was just the conference.
Oh, Jesus. So you win, but there's not even a half a second where you get to relax and be happy because you know what's coming next, and what's coming next is even harder.
That's right. And because for me, I trained where the conference tournament was, I treated like it was the first round of the national tournament. Yeah. That's not my goal to win the conference. That's the side product of what I'm trying to be.
Right. I love this image of, if you aim for the moon, you'll probably fall short and back on Earth. But if you aim for the sun, you might not get the sun. But if you'll land on the moon, and the view is pretty good from there. I love that because it's that idea of having your vision be bigger. If the vision is bigger, then you have to work harder versus like working just hard enough isn't going to get you there. It's true. It's like Ronaldo. I don't know if you follow soccer at all, but Ronaldo, the regular, what his regular team does for training is crazy. And he does his own stuff. He does an extra hour or two of his own stuff every friggin' day. So it's not surprised that he's in his 30s and still is just this phenom.
Dominating, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so now, next, geez, you won. The guy broke. But you've got... Now, what's next? So
now the national tournament's coming up in 2 weeks, and I'm getting as prepared as I possibly can. I get there, and I'll kind of condense this part of it. It was tough. It was like in my mind, the year before I lost in that blood round. I am not losing again in the blood round. Yeah. And I fell short, I think, in the quarterfinals. I lost to a guy in a very close match. And in my mind, it's like I didn't have time to feel sorry for myself that I wasn't as the same person I was in the first half of the season, or that I had done to prepare. All I knew in my mind was keep wrestling, get on that damn podium, move, get up, get going. And I wrestled all the way back, and then I'm at the blood round again. I'm now at the same place the year before. And I remember the guy I had to compete against. He was the number 2 seed in the entire tournament. Number 2 guy in the entire country. And because he lost to an unranked guy. And I was like, because in my mind I was like thinking, oh, he's going to beat this guy. So this is the guy I'm going to have to wrestle to be an All-American. I'm going to kill him. In my mind, I'm like, envisioning this guy is the guy who killed my sister. He killed my dog. Like, he is the worst person in the entire world. I'm going to kill this guy. That's the guy. That's the kind of mental things that you do to get yourself revved up. Yes, because if I killed my dog, he killed my sister. Wow. Brutal things, right? Because if I don't, otherwise, if you respect your opponent, I'll respect my opponent off the mat. Off the mat, I will respect my opponent. But when we shake hands and we're about to compete, we're in pure war. It is absolute war. Because if I give him any life, he will embarrass me in front of 20,000 people, and he will not hesitate to do it. So it's my job not to even think that way. I'm not going to let him control and dictate the match. So I need to do my game plan, make this my match. So I, basically I'm just seeing in red. And then when that guy lost, and now I have to wrestle the number 2 guy in the country to be an All-American, I was like, well, that sucks. Looks like this guy will not get on the podium this year. Number 2 in the country or not, I don't care. And and as I told you, the for that last couple weeks that I was competing, I was not the same wrestler. I had to wrestle smart.
Yeah, yeah.
But when we shook hands and I was in that blood mountain and we started wrestling, I immediately was just seeing it red. I was under his arm. I can remember I could hear his coach saying, watch his arm, saying it to the ref because I had his arm in a pretty weird situation. And in my mind, I was like thinking, break his arm, throw him to his back. And I just started trying to rip him to his back. And I could hear my coach in the corner going, Brown, slow down. And then, of course, he started yelping in pain and the ref stops it. And then we continue wrestling. But the entire time, even though I had no gas tank, I didn't care. I was purely out for blood. At the end of the match, I ended up dominating the guy. I ended up beating him, I think, a score of 5-2, which means I took him down twice, controlled the whole match. And when that match was finally over and I got my hand raised, that's when it's like everything stopped. It wasn't like I did it. I became an All-American. I'm the man. No, it was, I finally got to exhale. Finally, from the age of 4 through all this entire roller coaster of a career, I finally hit an important pinnacle of my wrestling career. It wasn't the main goal I had, but I was happy to land on the moon. I finally got to breathe. I finally was able to have some closure in my wrestling career. And that's why even now when I reflect on the career, I'm not going to be the person like, I could have done this or should have done that. No, it was just the circumstances I had were unfavorable. I found a way to still be an All-American. I'm proud of my accomplishments. I'm proud of the career I had. It was shitty. And that's why I went actually into grad school to coach.
You went to grad school and then you coached. So
at the same college, yeah. But I only did that at first because I wanted to still be an Olympic gold medalist. That was my goal. But I needed the break. I was mentally distraught from that entire season that I needed a small break.
Yeah.
But if I leave the sport of wrestling.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was saying if I leave the sport of wrestling, it's very difficult to get back into it. So if I coach and I'm still training with the guys, I'm still in the ether. And when I'm ready, I'm going full speed.
Yeah. So, okay, first of all, great story. Secondly, you're a really good storyteller because I was on the edge of my seat. So, but when it comes to, the end of them raising your hand and instead of feeling like I've done it, you felt like, oh, Jesus, I can finally exhale, right?
Yeah.
So, so what, and it's really funny because when we first started talking, you're like, oh yeah, my college career, we never won. I mean, my impression was that you guys won lots of stuff and you won lots of stuff in your college career as a wrestler. In your mind, because you were aiming for the sun, maybe you didn't win. Am I right?
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm just here to reflect back to you that you won a shit ton. Okay. You won a lot. You won a lot and you overcame so much. And from the little 4-year-old to like, I'm going to fucking get this guy. Pardon my French. I'm going to get this guy. And you got him. And you stood on that podium. And,
right.
Your goals are so lofty. I've had an interesting career as an entertainer, as an actor, all of that. And if I gave you my resume, you would be a little bit impressed. But
I am very impressed, by the way. I have looked at your resume, and you have done a lot of incredible things. So yes, I am.
And thank you so much. And there's a big part of me that feels like I fucked up. Like I didn't get what I wanted to get. Do you know what I mean? Because yes, my book got published. My first novel that I ever wrote got published, but it didn't sell. Yes, I co-wrote an indie film that won some awards, but so what? Nobody's ever seen it. Like, it's so easy for your brain to take stuff and minimize it versus like, damn, many of the dreams I've had and the goals I've had have come true. And that is so true for you too. I mean, how old were you when that happened? When you became an All-American, Steve?
I was probably 23, around 23.
23. That's huge. You get that, right?
Yes, it's easier to get it now.
Yeah.
When you get to see it from a third person perspective.
Yeah, you get how huge it is. I remember my son turning to me And he's always been an athlete, and he's done gymnastics, he surfs, he's soccer, baseball. And I remember him turning to me, he was like maybe 8, and he had not won a round in gymnastics. And he looked at me and he was in tears. He was like, Mom, I just want to be the best at something. Aww. And I was like, I just want to be the best. I mean, that's such a big goal. And that was your goal.
Yeah.
So that's such a good, so what did you learn from that? First of all, what did you lose? Because I didn't hear much losing there. I mean, I guess the ribs, breaking the ribs and that, but so talk to me about that. Talk to me about what you think you lost. Yeah.
So what I lost out of that was, from the junior year when I lost in that blood round, and then thinking that I finally turned it around, like I was at an all-time low after the junior year. And then I thought I was at a high tide, especially after beating the returning national champion. Yes, training is paying off. I'm on the right track. Yeah. And then when I got hurt again, then I was like, and then with being ribs, like, so that 6 weeks that I was off, that was when I was losing it. That was the worst. To sit for 2 hours every day at practice, going to class, doing and just feeling like I wasted my time. It was all for nothing. How am I supposed to bounce back? How am I supposed to do this? Like, everything was against me, and it's very easy to feel sorry for yourself. And, even as, if people listen to this right now, it's like, I don't want sympathy. I don't want sympathy from anyone. But what I do want to do is share that if you're going through this same thing, or you have moments of doubt and you are doubting and nothing is going in your favor, don't feel bad for yourself. Just reflect on it and build off it. And I read this book, and it was probably the greatest book I've ever read. It actually helped me not only, I wish I would have read it before wrestling. It would have helped me even more then, but it single-handedly has helped my stunt and film career the most. And it's called Failing Forward. And basically the premise of the book is people are scared of failing. And I was, that's where my anxiety was in high school, especially. I was scared of losing. I was scared of making mistakes. Yeah. And it's just a sport. And so I'm sure people are thinking like, dude, come on, man. It's just a sport. But when you put so much of your love, your heart, and your soul into something, it's no longer a sport. It becomes something greater than that. And then when it comes to your career or the job that you're trying to get, people don't want to go to the interviews, or they're scared about trying to fight for the position, or what if they get fired. And so what I learned in wrestling carried over to everything else. So what I lost was the ability to be able to focus and see the bigger picture in that 6 weeks. Yeah. And I made myself, I didn't like it, but I made myself come back. And luckily I found that success. And reflecting as now a professional stuntman in this book that I was telling you about, Failing Forward, the goal of the book, basically, it kind of reframes your mind. Instead of being scared to fail, it kind of tells you like, all right, so your goal every day is to fail 5 things every day. So let's say that you don't know how to play the guitar. So when you play the guitar, you're going to fail. Why? Because you suck at it. You don't know what you're doing. But the more that you keep failing at the guitar and you're doing it every single day, it's going to get harder and harder to fail every single day because you're doing it more and more and more.
Right. You can't, if you're afraid to fail, you're not going to try new things because you're going to be shitty at anything you do the first time. It's just the way the world works. And it's so funny because, I think we all know that, that when Edison invented the light bulb, he had, like 150 fails, fails, right? And he had to, if he had given up after number 2 or 3 or number 101, we wouldn't have the light bulb, Right. I mean, somebody else would have come up with it. But the point is, it's like I used to ice skate when I was, like 11, 12, and 13. And if you want to land an axle, you know how many times you fall on your ass before you land an axle?
A lot.
And that's only 1.5 rotations, right? So you cannot succeed without failing. So that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I love that. And I love the book, Failing Forward.
That's right.
Do you know who the author is? Don't worry. We'll find it. We'll post it.
It is an incredible book. Yes.
I love it. I love it. It's really good. And one of the things that I look back on as an actor is part of the reason one of the things that I was afraid of in failing when it came to acting is I wouldn't audition, which is, I ended up writing my own 2-character play, and that was great. But I couldn't, it was too scary to me. You know, I had a lot of anxiety about it, but I also I don't think I even knew that it was anxiety. I always, you know, sort of rationalized it. But yeah, I wish I'd known that in order to get a role, you have to, you know, nobody gets a big movie on their first try, or most people don't, or even a little part in a freaking commercial. You know what I mean? So it's like, I mean, I know you have a good first time stuntman story, because I was looking at that interview you had. So I know the first time you went out there and did a stunt, you did like, it was like insane.
Big fire explosion. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to have you back, because you have more stories to tell. So I loved your advice about if anybody's going through it, you know, it's like, don't give up and fail forward and look at the big picture. So I think you know that we end with 3 questions, and I'm going to give them to you one at a time.
Okay.
Is there something that you hope to lose in the next year?
Well, because I did tell you that I'm failing forward, I'm losing every single day. You learn more from your losses and your setbacks than from your wins. So I don't allow myself to get complacent. So what am I losing? Everything. Even though I'm technically a successful stuntman, there's still so many areas to improve and get better on. And you can only figure out where your limits are if you're always testing them. So what am I losing? Everything. And it goes to my personal life too. I want to be a better friend. I want to be a better brother. I want to be a better lover. I want to be a better everything. So you gotta try things that you suck at to figure out how to get better at them.
Oh my God, that's so good. Well, okay. Just let me know when you've written your self-help book, and I will read it. Okay. And something that you hope to gain in the next year.
In the next year, you know, it's funny because one of the things I actually reflected from, you know, being in the quarantine and having a lot more time on my hands is I realized that I actually don't have a lot of self-love for myself. I'm a giver. I care about what people think too much. I want to make sure that everyone else around me is okay. I'm the oldest of 3 kids, so I feel like I'm always kind of trying to protect and take care of everyone else around me. And when I had time with myself, it's like, what do I want to do? I don't know. But when I'm with other people, it's easy for me to be an entertainer and do things around. And so what I'm trying to gain this year is I've been forcing myself to take time and put it onto myself. I have always appreciated what I've had and what I've done, but it feels like a glass ceiling. Like I don't get to fully appreciate it. I can only half appreciate it because this invisible glass ceiling of not having enough self-love has made me not appreciate it to the point where I should. So that's what I want to accomplish this year, is build more self-love.
That makes me so happy. It fills my heart up. I don't know if you've listened to any of the episodes, but I went on a journey of I've been on a journey of self-improvement probably since I was 19 and through therapy and other things. But I just recently started working with a life coach about 3 years ago. And the first thing she did was all about self-love. And that one of the things that I do is I do affirmations, and I look in the mirror and I actually tell myself how much I love myself. And it's so profound, and it's so healing, and it's so empowering. And, you know, we don't live in a culture that necessarily promotes that, because we're afraid of being conceited. You know, we're afraid of people envying us. We're afraid of jealousy. But loving yourself completely, it's like my life coach used to say to me, does a baby need to earn love? Does a puppy need to earn love? When you look at that baby or that puppy or your kitten, you're overflowing with love for it. And that little being deserves love just because it exists. And she introduced that concept to me, that I deserve love just because I exist. You know, we're so busy earning love, you know. Do you like me? Am I pretty enough? Am I blonde enough? Am I buff enough? Whatever the fuck it is. You know, what if we deserve love right exactly now, exactly how we are? Sitting on the sidelines with broken ribs. What if we deserve just as much love there as we do when we're standing on the podium? You know, it's a radical idea, but let's do that. Wow.
Absolutely.
Boy, Steve, I don't know. I feel like we just have to chat once a week. Okay, last question. What is something that you hope you never lose?
Something I hope I never lose is my ability to kind of see things as what I feel is a wide view angle, because we all get stuck with tunnel vision, and it's hard to reflect on what you're doing right or wrong when you're seeing through a narrow scope. So I hope I never lose that ability to see my own limits. If I'm being a dickhead or a douchebag, I should hope that I can see that before my friends say it to me, so I can make those adjustments, because I want to continue being the best version of myself to myself and others. And so I hope I never lose that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So now, wait a minute. I've looked at your IMDb page, and you're in Wonder Woman too, right? You're in the latest Wonder Woman?
No, it was the first one. I did some of the
you're in the
work.
first one. But the first one, I loved that one. I didn't see the second one. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. So where can people watch you? Where can people find you? All of that. Is there something specific we should be immediately watching now and go, oh, there's Steve? Tell me.
Well, let me preface that, with a stuntman.
We're not
we are
supposed to be able to see you.
Right. So, but there's a point in time where there's, there's some roles where I have to play either a character, because, stunts is cast. So if a director wants to say lines, we can. I would just say that we're more physical actors than we are the emotional actors, right? That's the difference between the two. As far as what you can see me in, probably the most predominant one is probably The Equalizer. Denzel Washington kills me, he slits my throat and then smashes my face onto a table.
I am watching that immediately.
I play a Russian goon, and I guess that's the benefit of being mixed is
it's like he could be Russian.
I'm a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and no one can really tell me that I'm not deserving of a white man role or an Asian role when the blood that courses in my vein is. Like when I look at my 23andMe or my Ancestry.com, it's like you are here, and it puts the entire world. I have a little bit of everything in it, so it's like
no kidding.
I guess I'm considered worldly at this point.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I'm boring. I'm all one little section of like Northern Europe, like I don't know, English and Swedish and Dutch and all of that. So we can watch you in The Equalizer. You're in the original Wonder Woman, which I loved. And where can we follow you? I follow you on Instagram.
So I'm probably most active on Instagram. My handle is Steve Brown Wrestler. I try to, we do sign NDA, so I can't post a whole lot from film and set, but as things get released, I like to share them. The most recent thing I've been working on is the new Avatar sequels. Which,
awesome.
So obviously I can't say much about that because of NDAs, but
yeah, you don't want to spoiler alert that.
But
so cool.
I will say that it'll be worth the wait. It's been an incredible 4 years that I've been working with James Cameron.
Wow. Oh my God. See, I have to have you back because I have to ask questions about James Cameron. I have to ask you about Denzel. I mean, I'm sure you guys, I don't think you guys had, that is my take on him, right? I just adore him. Everybody says that.
He was a genuine soul. He was easy to train and work with. He told the greatest stories. He was so kind, so much fun to work with. And
oh my God. Oh, good. Wow. All right. So this was such a delight. Thank you so much, Steve. And I don't know what I knew you'd be interesting because you have an interesting life, but you took us down. Not only did you take us down this wrestling road that I didn't expect, but a really quite beautiful journey and philosophical road of, and ending it all with self-love. So I love that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. I told you he was fun, right?
I know.
You did a good job. You were there. I was actually kind of talking to our listeners when I said that. But I did immediately go and watch The Equalizer with Denzel and see him get his throat slashed playing a Russian thug.
I saw him
I recommend I recommend the movie, by the way. I recommend it. It's
so we were talking after that, remember? we were talking I told him about that one movie, the Why Him, that with Bryan Cranston and James Franco, and he was in that too.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. And that made me look. You guys talking about it made me look it up, and I was like, I have to watch that movie. I love Bryan Cranston. I love James Franco, and it's a great premise, right?
Yeah.
Because
I liked it a lot.
James Franco's like a tatted, like kind of a dude, and the father is Bryan Cranston. Like, why is this the guy you want to be in love with, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the premise? Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. Well, he's also this rich entrepreneur app developer. So it's kind of like, what are your intentions here? But he turns out to be a nice guy.
Of course. Yeah. In the end,
it's actually a Christmas movie.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
It is.
He doesn't turn out to be a serial killer in the end?
No, it's not one of those James Franco movies. Yeah.
or Bryan Cranston movies.
Or Bryan Cranston. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So I think that listeners, if you have a story about.
Wait, we should read a letter.
All right. See, every time, Ronnie's like, Nelsie, get it together. Right. So, but he doesn't say that. He only thinks it. Oh, right. So we have a letter from last week inspired by Gus and the disappearing purse.
Yes.
Right? And so I'm going to check this out. Inbox. Okay. So from a fan saying, "Hi, Nelsie. This isn't a story about my own experience of losing a wallet, but I did find this story online about someone finding a purse that kind of blew my mind." Oh, all right. Well, I like this. This is fun and different. A lost purse discovered behind a school locker in Ohio serves as an unintended time capsule, giving students at North Canton Middle School a glimpse into the past. The bag was lost in 1957. Oh, my lordy lord. Now, I know how long ago that is because it's the year after I was born. That's 63 years. And it wasn't seen again for about 62 years. Wow. The contents inside frozen in time. Excuse me. Chaz Pyle, a custodian at the school, found the purse wedged between a school locker and the wall in the spring of 2019. Well, they clearly were not doing any cleaning behind the lockers, right?
For a very long time.
What the hell else did he find behind
decades.
there? Like Cheetos that are like 40 and 50 years old.
Yeah. Oh
okay.
my God. You didn't even have Cheetos back then. That's how long ago.
Yeah, exactly. Cheetos, well, but you figure Cheetos could have dropped back in the 70s, right? Back there in the 70s. So war bonds. No, war bonds, that's not right. Okay. So he found it wedged between the wall in the spring of 2019 when he was doing repair. The bag belonged to Patty Rumfola, who graduated in 1960 from what was then called Hoover High School. With the help of some internet sleuths, the school, which is now North Canton Middle School, was able to track down Rumfola's family, and fortunately they informed the district she had passed away in 2013. Wow. Thought it was an interesting story to share and hope you guys like it too. Keep up the good work on the podcast, Michael M. Thank you, Michael. That is pretty darn interesting. I do feel like I'd like to know a little bit more of what was in the purse. Like, was there a compact? Which, if you don't know what a compact is, it's something that you open like this and it has powder and you powder.
They still have those.
Women used to powder their noses. Yeah, okay, so women still powder their noses. Did it have perfume in it? Did it, it could have had some coinage in it, like a really old penny.
True.
Right?
Coinage.
Coinage.
Coinage. By the way, Cheetos were invented in 1948.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go.
There's actually a crazy story about how the Cheetos thing came around. I was just reading about it.
So there could have been some 1957 Cheetos going on, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. That,
Yeah.
would have turned to dust probably. Right?
I don't know. Those things last a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not really food.
Nothing in there found in nature. And yet, crunchy or puffy when it comes to the Cheetos for you, right?
Me?
Do you like a puff or crunchy?
I used to be a puff man. Mm-hmm. And now I'm just straight up crunch.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Crunchy
I don't know
Cheetos.
what happened.
And even now, if I'm starving and all there is like a vending machine, I will, not now because I'm vegan, but before I was vegan, I could convince myself that Cheetos are kind of healthy. And that would be the thing.
How?
Well, they've got cheese in them. And I
Okay.
And it would be like, on the one hand, I'm like, shit, there's nothing to eat, but there's a vending machine. Oh, I guess I'll have to get some Cheetos. Then I get them, and each one is so damn delicious. And then by the end of it, you're just like, you feel so gross.
It's so funny because like I wouldn't think out of all the options that Cheetos you would be the most healthiest. Just because like if you think about it, Cheetos were a potato. I mean, like they're origins of a potato chip, and they are the ones that look nothing like a potato chip. You know what I mean?
Right. But I think actually Cheetos, their base ingredient is corn, not potato.
Oh, corn.
I think.
But it doesn't look like a corn either.
No. What does it look like? It looks like a,
Looks like an alien's toe. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So that was pretty fascinating though. And of course we're only fascinated by what else they found behind that damn locker. Right? All right. So now for next week, given what Steve spoke about, I think we should, if you have a story about taking a different path, right? Like he thought he was going to be a wrestler, and then he got derailed from that, and he ended up being a stuntman, and he's happy and successful and really good at it. So if you have a story of sort of losing your dream, and then what that leads you to, is that a good one, Ronnie?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people feel like if they didn't do the one thing that they were on track to be on, that it's all over, which is like, that's like super rare to even happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's rare to happen. And it's like, I mean, being somebody who's had a lot of different paths and a lot of different sort of semi-successes and, having a narrow dream, it can be dangerous, right? If this is the one thing, I've got to do this thing, and this is the thing that'll make me happy, or make me know that I matter, then it can mess you up.
Yeah, I mean, like I studied film, and I learned how to edit videos when I was in the 3rd grade, and I always thought I was going to be a video editor, and that's what I was going to be, right? And then like only so recently, I was like, I do not want to be a video editor. I like making videos and cutting videos together, but if that was my job, I just couldn't do it. It's not very creative. It doesn't involve working with too many people, and you're basically, an editor's life is in a dark room for hours on end. Yeah. That's like, remember when we had Jacqueline on, and she was going to be an editor, right? And now she's doing comedy, like, and very similar, right? It's a very solitary existence being an editor. Yeah, not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying
not that there's anything wrong with that. No. No, because if that's your passion and you're great at it and you like it, fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I just didn't think it was going to be that,
Yeah. I mean, I went to school to be a dancer. When I went to college, I was a dance major, and then I changed to a theater major. And then after I wrote the play with Lori, then I segued into being a writer. So it's like, life is long and shit happens, and
you might as well do a bunch of stuff. You know what I mean?
Might as well do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, Steve got to get his throat slit by Denzel Washington.
Yeah, not a lot of people can say that.
Not a lot of people can say that. And that would never have happened if he had stayed on that wrestling path.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right?
The athlete path is so crazy. Like, it's such a small window. And then, you know, if you're not the best or in the best league, there's not really a plan B set up for most people, you know?
No.
It's crazy.
Mm-mm. It is. Yeah. Well, I never had that problem. I was never going to be the best, whatever, shot putter.
Shot putter.
People wanted me to. I was pushed in that direction, but I said no.
Yeah, you said no.
Yeah, I said no.
You stayed on your own course. Yeah.
I did. I followed my passion. And then I took 700 left turns. But yeah. All right, so I think, did we do it?
We did.
All right. So you look very comfortable in your new spot. You're leaning back.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I think it's good.
Yeah,
I like
I'm not, because, you know, I noticed after like looking at the videos, editing them, well, before we got an editor, I was very like,
no, you were like
webcam.
This was
yes.
Ronnie. Right. Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like,
no.
Oh, I gotta stop.
Chilling.
I gotta, yeah.
You're chilling. That's good. All right, guys. So we love you. Be good to yourself and others. What are we doing? Review, subscribe, right?
Comment.
Tell your friends. Comment down there. DM us on Instagram at Losing It Podcast, and don't
email
poop in the
us.
ocean. Oh, right. Email us at losingitcontact@gmail.com. And finally, don't poop in the ocean. Bye. Losing it. You came and you listened to the story. I hope so much that it didn't make you sorry. And I hope so much that you'll come back again.
Losing It, hosted by Nelsie Spencer. Produced by me, Ronnie Whaley. Theme song by Hunter Williams. Follow us online on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all podcasting platforms at Losing It Podcast. Viewers can email Nelsie with questions or comments about life, writing, comedy, or even your own Losing It story for a chance to be on the Losing It Podcast at losingitcontact@gmail.com. For everything Nelsie and everything Losing It, visit us at nelsiespencer.com.